Hello and welcome to Quell. Now, before I continue, the background I'll talk about at the end of the video. This video was actually requested by one of our clients. And the thing is because every major incident does start from somewhere, and from our experiences it starts from verbal abuse. The funny thing is, there's so many different theories behind verbal abuse. There's so many different approaches to it. Academics have spoken to it. I've been given theories over the years, etc. But the way we try to keep it simplistic for not only ourselves but our clients is we look at 3 different levels of verbal abuse. And we also have different reactions to the levels. The first level we always talk about with our clients and our attendees on all our courses is what we call organizational abuse. Now that is all about the organisation you're working for. So that could be, for instance, retail shops, housing groups, an organisation in hospitality, or the service that you're providing to the member of public. It's that criticism of they're not getting what they want, or the expectations outweigh their needs. And staff have a tendency to know it's not directed at them but the organisation, so they react slightly different. But that's the first level, and on average everybody puts up with that. The second level now is get a little bit more criticism, and that's what we call role abuse. Now that's where you get what I joke about the isms. That's the sexism or ageism, and everyone knows me, I always talk about you're never the right age. Localism I get a lot of, especially here on the island of Ireland. When they find out my background, then they shut up a little bit. But I'll get points like you're not from around these parts, etc, etc. And you can get that even within city centres. But it's also, when it comes to role abuse, it's one thing a lot of us do not like, and that's abuse about what we're doing. The role, being told what to do, told how to do it, criticised for what we're doing. Let's just say even people being aggressive towards us through that role abuse. Again, we can take it in waves, believe it or not. We take it in even the time of day, the time of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we can also take a lot of role abuse depending on how we're feeling personally. Like if we've got a relative ill or we don't feel well ourselves. So there's all these things that can come together. And I explain to staff that when we get role abuse, we do have to take it seriously. Because that individual now has gone from basically getting at the organisation, as I've said in the first level, to the second level of criticising your role. And it can be quite upsetting for quite a lot of staff. And a lot of staff have a tendency to take it on the chin because they think it's part of the job, when it's not. Because when an individual gets to the point of where they're criticising you for your job, well, I'm sure you know the last level. And that's the old third level. And the level of personal abuse. Now, I've explained this in other videos about personal abuse. I deal a lot with incidents. That's my job within Quell. I look at incidents, I talk to staff, I talk to organisations, I try to make sure it doesn't happen again, reduce it, whatever we try to do. But when it comes to personal abuse, it's not always just the way you look, you talk, you act, your sexuality, the way you dress, doesn't matter. It could be comments about something that's happening in your life at that specific moment, like a loved one being ill. And I've had everything. I've had staff react because they've had their other halves accused of doing something or being somebody. I've had people react because of comments made about their children, their parents. And it can be quite an impact on a staff member's reaction to things that can, and I have experienced it, where staff have overstepped the mark and caused a major issue. And it's easy to judge in hindsight, and I lecture on this and I say this to a lot of our clients. But when we look at verbal abuse, we got to recognise it. I'm not saying you don't, but some people do get confused between verbal abuse and threatening behaviour, which I've done a video on. I'll leave the link. So if you are experiencing levels of abuse, if you're getting organisational abuse, I'm just saying, on average, people put up with it. When it comes to role abuse, I'm just saying, it can have quite an effect and people don't report and record it as much. But the personal abuse, think of it like this. When a person, individual, whoever that might be, that guest, the customer, etc., gets to a point of where they can personally abuse you, where does it stop? I'll tell you where it stops. It either jumps into more threats or it bypasses that and goes straight into physical contact. Report and record verbal abuse. How to engage, handle it. I've got other videos on there. I've even done a video on your well-being, which I talk about what we call the diary trick. But never, ever take verbal abuse as part of the job, the role, or its acceptable behaviour, because that individual will get to a point of where they don't even think it's okay to verbally abuse you, but also verbally abuse your colleagues. Thank you for listening. The background, yeah, I get questions about the background a lot, direct messages, and people see me and ask me, why do I have backgrounds and all this lot. The simple reason is I see videos where people sat in a room and they just talk to a camera, and it's good, don't get me wrong, it's very good. But I just like to be a bit different, same as my training, and I know my team are exactly the same. We just like to do something different instead of the norm. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, whatever you're doing. Please follow the rest of our social media, and I'll get one of the guys to add the background in a bit, because yes, there's only a green screen behind me. Bye for now.